You want a home, and we need a bride for our father." The twin girls whisper to the homeless widow. The crowd mutters, a low, restless hum. It coils through the air, thick with tension, like a storm that hasn't broken yet. The gallows stand tall in the center of town, the wooden beams casting long shadows on the dirt. A breeze stirs, but it's weak. The widow stands at the foot of the stairs, her baby clutched tightly to her chest. Her eyes are locked straight ahead, but nothing moves in her gaze. No fear, no regret, just the weight of a lifetime's injustice, pressing down, squeezing tight. Her fingers shake just a little as she shifts her baby in her arms. A thin white dress clings to her body. She looks small, like the world might swallow her up at any second. But she doesn't falter. The sheriff stands opposite her, his boots sinking into the dust. His face is a mask of stone. He doesn't speak, not a word, just watches, his eyes cold, unblinking. The town's law, the heavy hand of order. Behind him, the crowd watches in silence. But they aren't silent because they care. They're silent because they're waiting for something. Something terrible. "She's guilty," someone whispers in the crowd, but it's swallowed by another voice that argues the opposite. The murmurs go back and forth. Each word, a stone thrown at her dignity. The sheriff doesn't respond, doesn't move. Her breath catches. She tries to steady herself, but it's hard. The weight of the eyes on her. The eyes of the people who've watched her live this life, watched her husband burn, watched her try to hold it together. And now they stand here, looking at her like a show, like she's nothing. "You ain't got nothing to say?" A voice calls from the crowd. "A man, maybe?" She doesn't look at him. Her focus is still on the sheriff. "You're making a mistake," she says, but it's a whisper lost in the wind. The sheriff doesn't flinch, doesn't move, just watches. But the hardness in his eyes, the way his jaw clenches, it's cracking, just a little. The widow's dignity, her silence, is unraveling him in ways no one can see. The hangman steps forward, the rope in his hand. It swings in a slow arc, the sound of it cutting through the air like a death knell. She looks at her baby. No one else. Just a small, innocent life in her arms. And she wonders, not for the first time, if they'll remember her. The noose tightens, and she breathes in, long and deep. This is it. This is her last breath. The flames rise in her mind, hot and bright, like a memory that's never gone cold. She sees it again, the fire, roaring through the house like a beast unleashed. It swallowed everything. The walls, the roof, the love they'd built. The night it happened. She'd been waiting for him, waiting for her husband to come home. She didn't know that would be the last time she ever saw him. Her hands tighten on the baby, a fresh pulse of pain shooting through her chest. The baby stirs, but she doesn't notice. Her mind is lost in flames. The sound of her husband's scream, the heat, the smoke that burned her lungs. They never found his body, just ashes, a pile of blackened bone that no one would claim. She's at the gallows now, the hangman's rope dangling in front of her, but it's the fire she can't escape. The sheriff watches her, his face as unreadable as ever, but she knows the truth that no one will speak. The fire wasn't an accident. It was murder. And he, the sheriff, knows it. "Tell them, Sheriff," she says, her voice sharper now. "Tell them what happened that night." He doesn't move. His eyes stay fixed on her, cold and unyielding. But something shifts in them, a flicker of recognition, of something buried deep. He swallows hard, his throat working. She steps forward, her baby still clutched against her chest. "You think they'll forget? The ones you sent to burn him? The ones who still walk around like they own this town?" Her words hit the air, sharp like broken glass. "I remember, Sheriff. I remember every damn thing." The crowd stirs, whispers spreading like wildfire, but the sheriff holds his ground. "Stop," he mutters under his breath. She hears him, though, and it's enough to make her pause, just for a moment. For a split second, his mask cracks. She sees it, his guilt, his fear. It's there, buried beneath layers of authority and lies. But he can't speak it. He won't. Not here. Not now. "You're no better than the ones who set the fire," she spits. her voice low, full of venom. You turn your back when you should have saved him. The sheriff looks away, his jaw clenching tight. But the truth is out now. It's in the air, thick and heavy, choking him with its weight. She lets it settle, watching as the crowd grows restless, waiting for something, anything to happen. They've heard the whispers, but now they're hearing her words. And it hurts him, she can tell. It's breaking him. Bit by bit, her gaze hardens. She doesn't need his forgiveness. She doesn't need anyone's. But the town does. They'll remember. They'll remember what was done to her husband, to the man who's now nothing but ash. The wind picks up again, carrying with it the smell of smoke. It's like the fire never left. And she wonders if it ever will. A figure steps out of the crowd, his presence cutting through the tension like a knife. The widow's breath catches in her chest. She doesn't need to look twice to know who it is. It's him, the man from the past, the one who knows what really happened that night, the one who should have spoken then but never did. His face is familiar, but weathered, the same eyes, the same mouth that smiled at her in better times. But not anymore. He stands at the edge of the crowd, his eyes locked on hers. She doesn't say anything. She doesn't need to. Their silence speaks for them both. The sheriff doesn't notice at first. His focus remains on the widow, his face a mask of forced stoicism. But the crowd shifts, murmurs spread, and the man moves closer, his steps slow, deliberate. She doesn't break her gaze. She won't. Her hands shake, not from fear but from the weight of what she's carrying. The truth. It hangs in the air, suffocating, pressing down on them all. The man's eyes flicker toward the sheriff, then back to her. There's something in his look, something deep and unspoken, a secret too big to name. And in that moment, the widow feels the world closing in on her. The wind picks up again, whipping at her hair, but she doesn't move. The crowd is growing restless, as if they can feel the shift, the heavy weight of what's about to be revealed. Her pulse quickens. She doesn't know what's going to happen next, but she can feel it in her bones. Something's coming. Say something, she finally mutters, her voice a low rasp. It's not to the man, not to the sheriff. It's to herself, to the silence that's been choking her for so long. The man steps forward, his boots crunching against the dirt. For a moment, the widow wonders if he'll finally speak, if he'll finally tell the truth. But he doesn't. He just looks at her, and the silence between them grows. The sheriff shifts uncomfortably, his hand twitching at his side. He knows. He can feel it, too, the weight of the truth closing in. He looks at the man, his jaw tightening. The widow's heart races. The clock is ticking. The gallows loom over them, a silent witness to all of it. But she isn't afraid anymore. Not of the man, not of the sheriff. She's past fear. Her gaze hardens as she turns away from the man, focusing back on the sheriff. You want me to die, but you're afraid to speak the truth, she says quietly, so only he can hear. And that's why we're all still standing here. For the first time, the sheriff falters. He blinks, then looks away. And in that moment, she knows, the power he holds is slipping through his fingers, unraveling piece by piece. The wind howls again, but no one speaks. Not yet. The noose is cold against her neck, pressing tighter with each breath she takes. She feels it now, a finality that settles over her like the weight of the world. The wooden beams above her creak, the rope swaying ever so slightly in the wind, as if it, too, senses a storm brewing. She grips her baby tighter to her chest, her fingers trembling. She isn't afraid, not anymore. What's left to fear when everything that's been buried for years is finally rising to the surface? The sheriff stands across from her, his face as unyielding as the town itself. He doesn't flinch, doesn't blink. He just watches silent, like a man who has long ago lost his soul. But she knows him in ways the town never will. She knows the truth, the weight of it, and she's ready to lay it bare. Her voice, when it comes, is strong, though her words shake the air with the power of 1,000 storms. I know what you did, she spits, her voice rough, each word hard as stone. You think they'll forget? You think the fire will burn clean and leave nothing behind? Well, it didn't, and neither did you. The sheriff doesn't move. His eyes lock onto hers, cold and unfeeling. But she can see it now. The slightest twitch in his jaw, the subtle shift in his posture. He's not as sure as he used to be. The walls he built around himself, the lies he told the town, they're starting to crack, starting to crumble under the weight of her words. You let them do it, she continues, her voice growing louder, sharper with each breath. You let them burn him alive. You stood there, Sheriff, and you did nothing, nothing but watch. Her eyes narrow, narrowing into slits as the crowd murmurs behind her. And then you let them walk away. You covered it all up. You buried the truth with your damn silence. She sees it in him now, the flicker of doubt, the beginning of a tremor in his hands. For just a moment, the sheriff looks like a man trapped in his own web of lies, too tangled to escape. The mask he's worn for so long, the hard exterior, it's starting to crack. The people in the crowd are restless, shifting on their feet, whispering amongst themselves. But the sheriff stays still, rooted in his place, as if the very ground he stands on is betraying him. Her hands tighten on her baby, the only thing left to hold on to in this God-forsaken town. She stares at him, unblinking. You didn't care, did you? Her voice breaks the silence, sharp and bitter. You never cared about him. Not really. Not about me, either. You just cared about keeping your damn secrets hidden. The sheriff shifts slightly, his hand moving toward his gun, but he doesn't draw it. He doesn't even raise it. He's fighting something inside himself, something deeper than any law he's ever sworn to uphold. The truth is coming for him, and he knows it. He knows that no matter how much he tries to bury it, it will rise. It always does. You think you're going to walk away from this? She hisses, taking a step closer to him. You think this rope is the end of me? No. It's the beginning of everything you've buried, Sheriff. And when they find out what you did, when they know the truth, you'll be the one standing here, looking at the gallows. Not me. You. The crowd falls silent now. No more whispers. No more murmurs. Just the sound of the wind and the distant rustle of the trees. The sheriff doesn't move, but she sees it. His hands are trembling now. He tries to hide it, tries to bury the guilt that's crawling up his throat, but she can see it in the tightness of his face. His silence is the loudest thing in the square, the way his lips press together, as though he's choking on his own words. Why won't you speak? She says, quieter now, almost pleading. You know what happened. You know what you did. And you're standing there, pretending it's not eating you alive. But it is, isn't it? The sheriff looks away, his eyes darting briefly toward the crowd. For a moment, she thinks he might finally break. But he doesn't. He stands tall as his guilt will allow him, and says nothing, not a word. The noose is tight around her neck now, the rope digging into her skin. She can feel the pressure, feel the pull of it, but it doesn't matter. Her words, her truth, are louder than any executioner's hand. You're already dead inside, she whispers, just loud enough for him to hear. And one day they'll know what you did, and you'll be the one swinging from a rope. She steps back, her baby still cradled close, as the wind howls again. The sheriff doesn't move. He can't. The truth has shackled him tighter than any rope ever could. And as the crowd stirs, waiting for the final act, she knows this moment has broken him. The man who once held power over this town, who held the reins of law and order, has been undone by the one thing he could never control, the truth. She waits, and the town waits, for the sheriff to speak. But his silence is his confession. And in that silence, she hears the final crack of his power crumbling. The crowd stands frozen, the tension thick in the air, as the sheriff takes a step forward. His boots scrape against the dirt, the sound jarring in the stillness. The noose around her neck is tight, but it no longer feels like a sentence. It feels like the last tie holding this moment together, the last thread in the story about to unravel. The wind picks up and the crowd stirs, but it's as if the earth itself is holding its breath. The sheriff reaches out slowly, his hand trembling, but it's not for the rope. He's not going to pull it tight. Not this time. His fingers hover over the knot for a long moment, and she can see it in his eyes, the guilt. It's there in the way his jaw clenches, in the way his hands shake. He's not the man he was when he first walked into this town. He's not the man who used the law as a weapon, who used fear to bend people to his will. He's nothing now. I can't, the sheriff mutters, his voice rough, barely a whisper. I can't do this. The crowd shifts, eyes darting between the sheriff and the widow. There's no cheering, no outpouring of support for the woman who's about to walk free. No one knows what to do. It's like they're all caught in some limbo, stuck between what they thought they knew and what's happening now. The sheriff, once a figure of power, now looks small, his shoulders hunched, his hands trembling, as if the very weight of his past is too much to bear. He stands there, a broken man, unable to speak the truth that's been buried for so long. The town watches him, waits for him to do something, to say something. But all they see is the man who's been caught in his own lie, the man who thought he could get away with it. The widow doesn't speak. She doesn't need to. She can see it. She can see him breaking, piece by piece, his mask slipping away with each passing second. The air around them feels heavier, charged with something they can't name. Her chest rises and falls with the steady rhythm of her breath, but she doesn't move. She stands there as calm as she can, despite the fire burning inside her, despite the years of pain, of grief, of anger, all bottled up, ready to spill over. And then the sheriff does something she didn't expect. He steps back. He doesn't take the noose off, doesn't order the executioner to proceed. He just steps back, his shoulders slumping as if the weight of the world has finally crushed him. "I'm sorry," he whispers. "I'm sorry." The words fall like stones into the silence. There's nothing triumphant in them, nothing redemptive, only a broken confession, a surrender to the truth that's finally caught up with him. He's no longer the sheriff, no longer the man who held power over her, over the town. He's just a man now, naked in his guilt, standing in the shadow of his own sins. For a long moment, she doesn't move. She doesn't let the rope fall, doesn't let the crowd breathe. She just stands there, watching him, her heart pounding in her chest. The air is heavy with the weight of everything that's come before this moment. The fire, the death, the lies, the way they've all twisted together, pulling them here to this point. The widow knows she's won, but it doesn't feel like a victory. Not really. It's more like a reckoning for a man who thought he could bury the past forever. The noose falls away, hitting the ground with a soft thud. The rope is loose now, and the crowd's murmurs grow louder. She doesn't need to look at them. She knows what they're thinking, knows that they're waiting for her to speak, for her to make some grand declaration. But there's nothing to say. Not anymore. The truth is out. The sheriff is undone, and she's free. Her feet move before she thinks about it, her step steady as she walks away from the gallows. Her baby is still cradled in her arms, the weight of the child a small comfort against the rawness of everything she's just endured. She walks away, the sound of her boots on the dirt the only thing she hears now, each step taking her farther from the past she's been forced to carry for so long. The sheriff doesn't follow her. He doesn't say another word. He watches her go, but the fire that once burned in his eyes is gone now. The town that once feared him now watches him in silence, and he can't bear it. He knows what he's done. He knows that, in the end, it was the truth that broke him. Not her, not the rope, not the execution. The truth. The widow walks into the distance, and the wind howls around her. The gallows stand behind her, empty now. The town is silent, and in that silence, the sheriff's reign is over. The power he once held, the fear he once commanded, it's all gone. And what remains is nothing but the truth that will be remembered, the truth that will outlive them all. And as the widow disappears into the distance, the sound of the town fades away. There's nothing left now but the ghost of what was. The past is finally dead, and so is the man who tried to bury it. The gallows fall, but it's not her life that's ended. It's his.